The journey begins before you even step out of the car. It begins with the turn signal. You are driving down a street that your hands remember better than your mind does. You haven't lived here in 10, maybe 20 years, yet your body knows the exact curvature of the road, the exact placement of the potholes, and the rhythm of the stop signs. But something is wrong. The scale is distorted. This is the hook of the experience, the Alice in Wonderland effect. The street, which in your memory was a massive boulevard of adventure, a wide river of asphalt where you learned to ride a bike and played street hockey until the streetlights buzzed on, now looks incredibly narrow. The trees, which used to be giants scratching the sky, now look manageable. Or worse, they are gone, replaced by saplings that have no history. You park the car. The engine ticks as it cools down, a sound that usually signals arrival, but today signals intrusion. You are sitting in front of a structure that contains the ghost of your former self, but you feel like a trespasser. You look at the front door. Maybe it's painted a different color now. Maybe the old brass knocker is gone, but the brickwork is the same. That specific pattern of jagged mortar where you used to run your fingers while waiting for your mom to unlock the door, that is still there. It is the first anchor of reality in a sea of disorientation. You step out of the car and walk up the driveway. This concrete slab was once your entire world. It was a canvas for chalk drawings, a basketball court, a battlefield for water balloon fights. You can almost hear the phantom echoes of your own laughter bouncing off the garage door. You reach for your keys, or perhaps you are waiting for a real estate agent, or perhaps your parents still live here and are opening the door. The moment the door opens, you are hit with the most violent sensory conflict of your life. The scent. This is the core of the trauma. You expect the smell of home. You expect that specific, unreplicable perfume of your childhood. A mixture of your mother's laundry detergent, the wood polish, the faint smell of old books, and whatever dinner was cooked on a Sunday. That smell was the definition of safety. It was the olfactory signal that said, you are protected. But now it smells like strangers. It smells like aggressive air freshener, or a different brand of coffee, or stale air, or simply nothing. This absence of the familiar scent is a physical blow to the chest. It signals that the house has moved on. It has shed its skin. You are breathing in air that does not know you. You step into the foyer entryway. The floor tiles might be different, or they might be the same scuffed linoleum. If they are the same, the wave of nostalgia is almost nauseating. You remember sitting on this floor tying your shoes before school, frantic and sleepy. You remember the sound of the mail slot clacking open. You remember the terror of coming home late and trying to step silently on these tiles so you wouldn't wake your dad. The entryway is the airlock between the world and the sanctuary. Standing here now as an adult, you feel giant and clumsy. The ceiling feels too low. You look into the living room, and the furniture is all wrong. The ghost furniture is visible to your mind's eye. You can see exactly where the old plaid couch used to be, where the TV stand was, where the Christmas tree went every December. The reality of the current furniture, maybe a modern beige sofa or an empty room if it's for sale, clashes with the hologram in your brain. This dissonance creates a feeling of vertigo. You are standing in two timelines at once. You are 7 years old and 35 years old simultaneously. And the friction between those two identities creates a spark of profound sadness. This hook is about the realization of ownership. Not legal ownership, but spiritual ownership. You realize that you no longer belong to this space. The house does not greet you with a warm embrace. It greets you with indifference. It has sheltered other storms, heard other arguments, and protected other sleepers since you left. You feel a strange sense of betrayal. How could the walls forget you? You trace the patterns on that wallpaper with your fingernail when you were bored. You slammed that coat closet door 1,000 times. You left your DNA in the dust of this place, and yet the house stands silent, smelling of otherness. This is the beginning of the liminal nightmare. You have crossed the threshold, but you haven't arrived home. You have arrived at a museum of your own life, where the exhibits have been rearranged by a curator who doesn't know the story. You take your first step onto the carpet, and it feels different under your feet. Thinner, or newer, or harder. The sensory betrayal continues. You are an astronaut, exploring a planet that looks like Earth, but has the gravity of Mars. You want to cry, but you don't know why. It's not grief for a person, it's grief for a time. You are mourning the death of the now that you used to live in. As you stand in the hallway, looking toward the kitchen, the light hits the dust motes dancing in the air. For a split second, the angle of the sun is exactly as you remember it from a Saturday morning in 1999. That beam of light is a time machine. It triggers a memory of pure joy, maybe running through the hall in socks, sliding on the floor, but immediately the memory is tainted by the silence. There is no cartoon playing in the background. There is no smell of pancakes. There is only the hum of the refrigerator and the sound of your own breathing. The hook sinks in deeper. You can visit the coordinates, but you cannot visit the life. The door is open, but the past is locked. You are a ghost haunting your own history, invisible to the current reality of the house. You take a breath of the strange smelling air, steel yourself against the wave of melancholy, and begin to walk further into the belly of the beast. You move into the living room and the kitchen, the heart and lungs of the house. This is where the rising action of the emotional journey takes place, because these were the communal spaces. This is where the family existed as a unit. As you walk across the living room floor, you are careful not to step on the cracks or lines, an unconscious habit from when you were 5, and the floor was lava. The layout of the room dictates your emotions. You look at the corner where the TV used to be. That corner was the altar of your childhood. It was where you watched the Twin Towers fall, where you watched the cartoons that shaped your humor, where you played video games until your eyes burned. The ghost of the static electricity from the CRT screen seems to prickle at your skin. You remember the fear of watching a scary movie through the cracks of your fingers in this room, knowing your parents were right there on the couch. That safety, the proximity to the protectors, is what hurts the most now. You look at the spot where your dad's armchair sat. It's empty, or occupied by a stranger's chair. The absence of your father, or the memory of him young and strong sitting there, hits you with the brute force of time passing. You realize that the protectors are getting older, or are gone, and now you are supposed to be the protector. The room demands an authority you don't feel you have. You walk into the kitchen. The kitchen is the most sensory room in the house. Even if the appliances have been changed, the workflow is the same. You know exactly which drawer used to hold the silverware. You reach for it instinctively, and if it opens with the same squeak thud sound, your heart breaks a little. That sound is a recording from your past. You look at the linoleum or the tile. You remember dropping a glass of milk right there and crying because you thought you'd be in so much trouble. But your mom just cleaned it up. You remember the joy of pizza boxes piled on the counter on a Friday night. You remember the terror of sitting at this table staring at a math worksheet you didn't understand, the sun going down, feeling like the world was ending because you couldn't do long division. The kitchen holds the spectrum of domestic life, nourishment and discipline, celebration and mundane boredom. You run your hand along the counter. It feels colder than you remember. The scale, again, is jarring. The counter used to feel chest high. Now it feels low. You feel like a giant in a dollhouse. The window above the kitchen sink is a specific portal. You stand there and look out. How many times did your mother look out this window while washing dishes? What was she thinking? As a child, you never wondered. Now standing in her footprint, you feel a surge of empathy that borders on pain. You see the backyard from the adult perspective. You realize how small the kingdom was. But looking through this glass, you also remember the anticipation, watching the driveway for your dad's car to pull in, watching the rain streak the glass, feeling cozy and warm inside while the storm raged outside. That feeling of indoor safety was forged in this room. The hum of the refrigerator, if it's the old one, is a lullaby. If it's a new, silent one, the silence screams at you. You miss the noise. You miss the chaos of breakfast before school. The silence of an empty childhood kitchen is the loudest sound in the world. It amplifies the absence of the voices that used to fill it. You notice the scars of the house. There is a dent in the drywall near the pantry, maybe from when you threw a toy or when a sibling shoved you. That dent is a historical document. It proves you existed. It proves you were wild and young and emotional. You touch the dent like it's a holy relic. It connects you to a specific moment of anger or play. You remember the fear of getting caught, the adrenaline of the fight, and then the inevitable making up. The house witnessed it all. The walls have absorbed every shout, every whisper, every laugh. Standing there, you feel exposed. The house knows your secrets. It knows about the time you stole a cookie, or the time you cried while hiding under the table. These memories rush back not as stories, but as physical sensations in your gut. The kitchen isn't just a room for cooking. It is the laboratory where your personality was formed. The rising action escalates as you move towards the hallway that leads to the bedrooms. This is the transition from the public self to the private self. The hallway is narrow. It feels darker than the rest of the house. You remember running down this hall in the dark, convinced that monsters were chasing you, sprinting to the safety of the light. You feel a glimmer of that irrational fear even now. The shadows seem to hold the same shapes. The creak of the floorboard under the rug is exactly the same note, a C-sharp of timber that betrayed you when you tried to sneak out. Hearing that sound again collapses the decades. You are instantly a teenager, again, heart pounding, terrified of being caught. The auditory memory is so precise that you almost expect your parents' bedroom door to fly open, but it doesn't. The door stays shut. The house is indifferent to your stealth. You are sneaking through a memory, and there is no one left to catch you. This realization transforms the fear into a hollow ache. You almost wish someone would catch you, just to prove that the past is still alive. You stand before the door of your old bedroom. This is the conflict. This was your sanctuary, your fortress, the only place in the world that was truly yours. Your hand hovers over the doorknob. You are afraid to open it. You are afraid of what you will find, and even more afraid of what you won't. You turn the knob and push. The door swings open. The shock is immediate. It is so small. How did your entire universe fit in this tiny box? This room contained your vast imagination, your sprawling Lego cities, your teenage angst, your hours of phone calls. Now it looks like a closet. If it has been repurposed into a guest room or an office, the pain is sharp. Your identity has been erased. The walls, once covered in posters of bands or cars or movies, are now a neutral, offensive beige. You feel a surge of defensive anger. Where is the poster of the galaxy? Where are the glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling? You look up. Maybe, just maybe, there is a faint residue of adhesive where a star used to be. That tiny blemish is a victory. It is proof that you dreamed here. You step inside and close the door. This action, closing the door, triggers a Pavlovian response of relief. This was how you shut out the world. This was where you cried when your heart was broken for the first time. You can almost feel the weight of the teenage despair soaking into the drywall. You remember sitting on the floor, back against the bed, listening to music on a CD player, feeling like no one understood you. Standing there now, you want to travel back in time and hug that kid. You want to tell them it gets better, or maybe it gets harder, but you can handle it. The conflict arises between the adult you are and the child you were. You realize that the problems you had then, the math test, the prom date, the rumor, were so small, yet they felt like the end of the world. And you realize that your current adult problems will one day look just as small. The room gives you perspective, but it is a painful perspective. It highlights the fleeting nature of suffering and joy. Then, you look at the window. This is the window you stared out of for thousands of hours. You looked at the street, the rain, the moon. You dreamed of escaping this house, this town, this life. You wished to be older, to be independent, to be anywhere but here. And now you have escaped. You are older. You are independent. And all you want is to be back inside looking out. The irony creates a lump in your throat. You succeeded in your childhood dream of leaving, only to realize that the leaving cost you the comfort of the nest. You touch the cold glass. It separates you from the world, just like it did then. You remember the feeling of being grounded, trapped in this room, thinking it was a prison. Now it feels like a womb. You miss the simplicity of being grounded. You miss the boundaries. The world is too open now. You crave the walls. The closet is the next confrontation. You slide it open. The smell inside is closer to the original smell of the house, old cedar and stagnant air. This dark space was your hiding spot. It was where you hid Christmas presents, or where you hid yourself during hide and seek. It was also where you confronted your fears. The monster in the closet was real to you once. You stare into the darkness and feel a primal shiver. But you also remember the clothes, the outfits that defined your eras, the Halloween costumes, the varsity jacket, the prom dress or suit, Those empty hangars are rattling ghosts. You realize that you have shed so many skins in this room. You have been a toddler, a child, a preteen, a rebel, a graduate. The room held all of them. Now it holds nothing but air. The emptiness of the closet feels like the emptiness of your own memory. You know things were there, but you can't quite grasp the texture of them anymore. Finally, the mirror. If there is a mirror in the room, looking into it is the climax of the conflict. You expect to see your younger face. You expect to see braces, or acne, or wide, innocent eyes. Instead, you see your aging face. You see the lines, the tiredness, the adulthood. Seeing your adult reflection in your childhood bedroom is a visual glitch. It doesn't belong. It looks like a superimposition. This image forces you to confront your mortality. You are no longer the protagonist of the coming-of-age movie. You are the sequel. You are the aftermath. You stare into your own eyes and try to find the child. They are in there, buried deep, but the glass shows only the survivor. You realize that you can never truly come home because the person who lived here is dead. You are a new person visiting the grave of your former self. The conflict resolves not in peace, but in a heavy, resigned acceptance of time's arrow. You turn away from the mirror because it tells the truth too loudly. You need fresh air. The intensity of the bedroom is too much. You head to the back door, the sliding glass door that leads to the yard. You slide it open, and the sound, the rumble click of the track, is instantly familiar. It is the sound of summer freedom. You step out onto the patio or the grass. This is the comeback. This is where the dissonance heals, because nature changes slower than interiors. The sky is the same. The sun hits your face with the exact same warmth it did in July of 1995. You take a deep breath. The smell of cut grass, of wet dirt, of the neighbor's pine tree. This is the smell that has survived. It hasn't been painted over or renovated. It is the eternal scent of the earth. You feel a wave of relief wash over you. The house might be a stranger, but the land remembers you. You walk towards the big tree in the corner of the yard. You remember when you couldn't reach the lowest branch. You remember the triumph of the first time you pulled yourself up. You put your hand on the bark. It is rough and solid. This tree was your spaceship, your lookout tower, your castle. It is older now, thicker, maybe gnarled, but it is the same living being. You feel a connection to it that is almost spiritual. It watched you grow up. It offered you shade. It held your tire swing. Standing under its canopy, the years melt away. You are just a biological entity, standing next to another biological entity. The complexity of your adult life, taxes, career, relationships, fades into the background noise of the cicadas. You remember the feeling of lying in this grass, staring up at the clouds, looking for shapes. That pure, unadulterated boredom was a luxury you didn't appreciate then. You try to recapture it. You look up. The clouds are still drifting. The world is still turning. You feel small again, but in a good way. You are part of the cycle. You look at the fence line. You remember the boundaries of your world. As a kid, the fence was the edge of the universe. Beyond it was the unknown, the neighbor's yard. You remember the neighbor's dog barking, a sound that used to terrify or delight you. Maybe you hear a dog barking now, and it triggers a phantom memory of your own pet, the dog that you buried in a corner of the yard. You walk over to that spot. There is no marker anymore, just grass. But you know who lies there. You feel a pang of grief, fresh and sharp. That pet was your first lesson in love and loss. The backyard is a graveyard of tennis balls and buried hamsters, a secret history map that only you can read. This sadness is beautiful. It feels clean compared to the confusing sadness of the empty bedroom. This is the sadness of life's natural progression. The comeback is also about the ghost of play. You look at the open space and you can see your ghost running. You see the ghost of the slip and slide, the ghost of the wading pool, the ghost of the snowball fights. You realize that this patch of grass was the stage for your greatest physical achievements. You learned to catch a ball here. You learned to run fast here. You experienced the visceral joy of movement. Your adult body feels stiff and heavy, but watching the memory of your movement makes you feel lighter. You remember the smell of the hose water, that metallic cold taste of drinking straight from the garden hose on a hot day. It was the best water you ever tasted. You look at the spigot. It's still there. You have the urge to turn it on, just to see if the magic is still in the pipes. Finally, you listen. The acoustics of the backyard are specific. The way the sound of the highway reflects off the fence, or the sound of the distant train whistle. These sounds were the soundtrack to your evenings. You remember catching fireflies in a jar as the twilight turned purple. You remember the feeling of not wanting to go inside, hearing your mom call your name from the door. 5 more minutes, you would scream. You wanted to stay in the twilight forever. Standing there now, in the same twilight, you realize that you are still asking for 5 more minutes. You want 5 more minutes with your childhood. You want 5 more minutes with the people who are gone. The backyard grants you this grace. For a moment, standing in the long shadows, time stops. You are safe in the magic circle of the yard. The house behind you is just a backdrop. The reality is the earth beneath your feet and the sky above. You have come back to the source. But you cannot stay in the garden. You have one last place to visit, the basement. This is the second rising action, and it plunges you back into the deep subconscious of the house. You open the door to the basement stairs. The smell hits you instantly. Musty, damp, cool, earthy. This smell has never changed. It is the smell of the foundation. You descend the stairs. They creak in a different way than the upstairs floorboards, a heavier, hollower sound. As you descend, the temperature drops 10 degrees. You are descending into the underworld. The basement was a place of duality. It was the scary place of the furnace and the spiders. But it was also the playroom, the sleepover zone, the place where the rules were looser. You reach the bottom. It's darker here. The windows are small, high rectangles that let in only gray light. You look at the furnace. To your child's self, this was a monster. It roared and hissed. Even now, the sudden whoosh of the pilot light igniting makes you jump. You confront that old fear and realize it is still sitting there, coiled in your reptile brain. You walk to the corner where the unfinished part of the basement is, the concrete walls. You look for the markings, the door frame, the height chart. If the new owners haven't painted over it, this is the most painful artifact in the house. You see the pencil lines. Age 3, age 6, age 10. You see your name written in your parents' handwriting. You touch the lines. You can measure the physical growth of your body against the wood. You see the gap between age 12 and age 13, the year you shot up. You are looking at a graph of your existence. If the lines are painted over, You can still see the phantom ridges under the paint. You know they are there. You have been erased, but the evidence remains underneath. The basement holds the ghosts of the lost objects. You remember the toy chest that used to be here, the broken VCR, the boxes of holiday decorations. This was the storage of your life. It feels empty now, echoing. You speak a word just to hear the acoustic delay. Hello? The house answers back with a flat, dead echo. You remember the sleepovers on this floor, the sleeping bags, the scary movies, the secrets whispered in the dark. The basement was where you practiced being an adult. Away from the prying eyes of the upstairs, it was a liminal space of becoming. Standing in the center of the room, you feel the weight of the house above you. You realize that this room held up the entire structure of your family life. It was the foundation, unseen but essential. You notice the corners, the dark, cobwebbed corners you avoided as a kid. You walk right up to them now. You force yourself to look. There is nothing there, just dust. The monsters are gone. This realization is bittersweet. You miss the magic of the fear. You miss the world where mysteries lurked in the shadows. Now, it's just a utility room. The magic has been stripped away by adulthood. You look at the laundry area. The hum of the dryer used to be a comforting sound while you played video games. Now it just looks like a chore. The transformation of the space from dungeon castle to utility room is the tragedy of growing up. You have traded imagination for function. As you turn to leave the basement, you feel the urge to run up the stairs. The basement sprint. You remember turning off the light and sprinting up the stairs before the demon caught your ankle. You put your hand on the light switch. You hesitate. You flip it off. The darkness is absolute. For a second, you are 8 years old again, and the terror is real. You scramble up the stairs, heart pounding, gasping for air, as you hit the top landing and slam the door. You lean against it, laughing nervously. You did it! You escaped one last time. That spark of adrenaline is a gift. It makes you feel alive. It connects you to the primal survival instinct of your youth. You are leaving the underworld, ascending back to the surface, carrying the heavy knowledge of the foundation with you. You are back in the entryway. The tour is over. It is time to leave. This is the payoff. You stand at the front door, looking back one last time. You try to take a mental snapshot of the house. You want to memorize the way the light hits the floor, the smell, even the wrong one, the silence. You're trying to bottle the essence of the place. You realize that this might be the last time you ever stand here. This realization gives the moment a sacred weight. You are saying goodbye, not just to wood and brick, but to a version of yourself that lives here. You are saying goodbye to the child, the teenager, the young adult. You whisper a quiet goodbye or thank you. It feels silly speaking to a house, but it is necessary. The house was a member of your family. It deserves a farewell. You open the front door and step out. The rush of fresh air, the noise of the street. It breaks the spell. You are back in the present. You pull the door shut. The click of the latch is final. It is the period at the end of the sentence. If you have keys, you lock it. The weight of the key in your hand feels heavy. It is a talisman of access that you no longer need. You walk down the driveway, the reverse of the walk you took an hour ago. The concrete feels different now. You are leaving, not arriving. You look at the house from the sidewalk. It looks just like a house. Just a building with windows and a roof. The magic is retreating back inside. You get into your car. You sit in the driver's seat and just breathe. You feel exhausted, hollowed out, as if you just ran a marathon. The emotional toll of time travel is immense. You look at the house through the windshield. You see the window of your old room. It reflects the sky. It looks blank. You realize that the house doesn't need you. It will continue to stand, to shelter, to exist without you. This is a painful but liberating truth. You are free. You don't have to carry the house on your back anymore. You have visited the ghost, and you have survived. As you start the engine, the radio comes on. Maybe it's a song from your childhood, or maybe just static. You put the car in gear. You pull away. You watch the house get smaller in the rearview mirror. This view, the house shrinking in the mirror, is the ultimate metaphor for life. We are always moving away from our origins. The house disappears around the corner. It is gone. But as you drive, you realize something. The smell, the real smell of home, is suddenly there for a split second. Maybe it's on your clothes, or maybe it's a phantom scent triggered by your brain. You smile through the tears. You realize that you carry the house inside you. The blueprint is etched in your soul. The memories are fireproof, waterproof, and timeproof. The payoff is the understanding of Hiraeth, a Welsh word for a longing for a home that you can't return to, or that never was. You accept this longing as a part of your chemistry. You are a traveler who has lost their map, but you know who you are. You are the product of that hallway, that kitchen, that backyard. You drive back into your current life, your adult life, knowing that you can never truly go back, but also knowing that you never truly left. The house is not the address. The house is you.